What's up, Internet? Welcome back to the Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Challenge Mode DLC, and today we finally get to cover my favorite mission in the entire DLC. This is going to be the 9th Imperial Division, and a very fun one. Basically, the theme of this one is that they have an upgraded Tyranitar Kurodil, or as I like to call him, Ice Cream Man, and he's going to be hounding you and your party at every corner. Every ability that Tyranitar Kurodil, or rather Ardanian Kurodil, has is very much an upgrade of the previous iteration. Every ability that he has an auxiliary effect, which are meant to be very unfair. The odds are stacked against you, but the good thing about Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is that you get to fight unfair with unfair, and that's exactly what we're going to do today. Now, following with the course that we've set out for this entire video series, I am going to be leveling myself down, and I'm only going to be using the blades that are much easier to get. There will be no completely random blades, with the exception of T-elos, of course. Like I've said before, T-elos has a increased chance of acquiring when you get to new game, or rather when you beat your first new game, and we're going to be using blades that you get from side quests and Fiora, so it's all going to be pretty easy to access stuff. So the first thing I want to point out is Rex. Rex is going to be the player character, and we're going to be playing along with Fiora. Now, the cool thing about Fiora for this particular challenge is that she shines really well by virtue of her screw edge being a crit recharge AoE. You're going to clear out the small enemies really fast, and the thing about her affinity charts is that the 9th Imperial Division of Moradane isn't a requirement for maxing out the charts. This means that potentially you could have her at S rank or higher if you so choose before you do this for the first time. So yeah, Fiora is really good, really requires no explanation other than what we've already used in the past. So yeah, increased level 2 damage and affinity max attack and hunter's chemistry to make sure that we get that critical bonus as soon as possible. I'm using a Tachyon chip to give her the highest auto attack damage possible, as well as the increased critical damage. I'm also going to be bringing along Mythra. Mythra, we all pretty much know who this is. Everyone should have her at S+ by now. Mythra is going to essentially just basically do what Fiora does, just in case maybe if I'm in an emergency situation and one of the crit recharges fail, all of Mythra's abilities are crit recharge, and that's exactly what we're going to be doing because we want to build up an orb as soon as possible. Full disclosure, the strategy will be a single orb setup, but you won't need to use any burst symbols, although you're totally free to do so. We're giving some leeway with the accessory builds that I'll talk about later. But yeah, Mythra is pretty simple how you would usually build her. I've decided to give her just like, I think it was a Moon Matter chip. Yeah, Moon Matter chip to increase her critical rate, and then I'm gonna increase the attack power of her special level 2. Level 2 special is going to be very important, which I'll point out later, but if you're one of the few lucky people that have a Cosmos, one other thing you can do is use her instead of Mythra, so that you can use a level 2 special for her instead, since it has the ability to heal the entire party while also having a large area of effect. And last but not least for Rex is going to be my favorite blade of all time, Cassandra. Now the thing about Cassandra is that I want to recommend heavily bringing a dark element for when you fight against Ardanian Kurodil. The reason why I say this, and it's really something that I wish the game did a better job of explaining, but the dark elements of this game will be immune to the effects of Doom. This means that essentially, as soon as you switch her in on a Murder Ray, you're still going to get the party gauge reduction that Ardanian Kurodil does, but you won't be hit with the insta-kill, so it's going to be very useful overall. And in fact, this entire party is going to be set up to be immune to that in general, making the process a lot easier. The build I'm running with is pretty much what you'd expect. It's going to be block rate up and ultimate shield combo. It's mainly just for building purposes, but honestly, it's just for safety's sake. Feel free to use whatever other dark blade that you have. So yeah, that is going to be Rex. The accessory setup that I have for him is going to be a titanium vest. Because I leveled myself down on purpose, feel free to switch out the titanium vest for like a burst symbol, but I want to recommend the avant-garde and the omega drive since we're playing around with crit recharge, and just because this particular mission actually does reduce party gauge from the enemies from time to time, you want to make sure that you can just get yourself caught up and give yourself more resources. Also, one other thing I should say before I go to the other drivers is the pouch items. I'm going to be using the Char-Grilled Grumbird and Glarna Stir Fry as usual. I just want to make sure that we recharge our abilities as soon as possible because it's going to be a very fast-paced strategy that we're going for. Now, the next one is going to be Morag. Morag, of course, is going to be running with T-elos. Feel free to use any driver with T-elos. I just personally prefer to have Morag myself because I just like the character that much, and it's going to be essentially the same exact builds that we've been using for this video series, using the what's it called, a tachyon chip for her abilities since we get more critical damage. There's not really much to say. She is a dark element, so she will be immune to Doom as well. And finally, Poppi QT Pie, because she's amazing as she is, you can actually change her core element to darkness, and the build that we're using is going to be completely focused on damage. This is the one that I've been using for quite some time now. It's just for the level 1 and 2 specials to have Vital Charge to give you as much damage as possible during the chain attack, so that's exactly what we're aiming for. The accessories for the other two drivers are going to be the optical headbands and avant-garde metal, and of course the titanium vest like I mentioned earlier. These are pretty basic stuff. Same thing goes for this one. I've decided that ever since you don't need an avant-garde metal for Tora, I've given him the carbon gauntlet. With this, it's actually very possible for him to do 2 stages of the dark orb and then have either Morag or Rex do the final stage, so it's going to be very good damage and much faster overall, and speed is going to be very important for this one. So I think that basically about does it for the builds that we're using. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut ahead to the video and see that little demonstration of ours. Alright, let the festivities begin. We're going to open up the battle with Fiora. Fiora is really cool because when you use Screw Edge, you get to have the critical recharge and AoE. If you haven't already seen my Fiora Breaks challenge mode, then this is basically just a replay for you guys. It's very, very easy stuff. Usually what I like to do is just target the Ardanian Must as quickly as I can, and then have one of my party members do a special as I have them all target him. The reason why I do this is because in between this wave and the wave following this, is that we're going to actually have all of our cooldowns and specials resets. The affinity is going to stay the exact same, which is very, very good, but for the most part, we will get that reset. So don't unsheath your weapons, just hit him with a rock by pressing down on the D-pad, and then lure him to the back corner to this one. This is where the Ardanian Sharper is going to spawn later, and we want to make sure we get the jump on him as soon as possible. For those of you guys that are unfamiliar with the Ardanian Sharper, what this essentially means is that he will do a lot of damage while also reducing your party gauge. It's very, very annoying, and you will scramble to get things done. It's very, very dangerous. Okay, so he's going to use the twin barrel autocannon. I will just have Cassandra do the level 3, and I'm actually not that worried about dying despite the fact that I'm cornered. The reason why I'm okay with dying at this stage in the fight is because any death for any of my party members is more damage to T-elos, and that's going to help determine how easily we can secure a KO in 2 chain attacks. So here we go. This is going to be the first one, and kind of following with my usual tradition, I'm going to wait a little bit and build up to a level 3. A level 3 is going to be very useful. Okay, here comes the Murder Ray, and just like that, everyone is resisting the Doom. So all that's left for me to do is just do this a couple of times. Going to do the twin barrel autocannon, and we're just going to go ahead and cancel that out. Do not use Mithra just yet. We're going to start things off with Fiora because you want to make sure that everyone can hit this at least once. All the abilities of Ardanian Kurodil are just upgrades of Tyranititan from Temperantia. Most of the time, it's like, if you see all the attacks of this guy, there's a good chance that you're going to wipe, or in the very least, find yourself in a very long, drawn-out battle, which is why I choose not to dwell on it. It's kind of a tricky fight overall, especially considering that you lose party gauge the longer that this fight is drawn out, but if you use a single orb setup, you're going to be immune to it from time to time. One thing I want to warn you guys about is that aside from this, there's also going to be the Ultra Annihilation Flare. The Ultra Annihilation Flare actually prevents you from using chain attacks, which can be extremely deadly, so you don't want to be anywhere near that. Not to mention that it also blocks you off from doing a, what's it called? Not just chain attacks, but also the fact that you become sealed after that too. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to wait a little bit longer for something to happen. Eventually, the next wave is going to come in, and so I want to make sure that wave is going to be ready. Okay, we have to make sure that Tora is turned around a little bit, but I don't think... Okay, here we go. So this guy is going to come in. Feel free to just hit him telekinetically, and now we are going to wait a little bit for this one. We're going to have this Hypergraviton go in, and then when those guys, those helicopters, are about halfway across the hall, we're going to be able to kill them with a single orb chain attack setup. It's very, very powerful, and I cannot wait. Cannot wait to show just how fun this can be. This is where the fun begins, as they say. So, we're going to go ahead and begin the other one, and this will essentially seal the deal. Remember, like I said, Fiora doesn't really contribute very much to damage when it comes to these chain attacks, but bringing her up to S+ does help whittle them down for chip damage in between chain attacks, and that's exactly what I would recommend for when you guys are stuck. So yeah, again, here comes the Poppi QT Pie, doing regular damage as per usual, and this is where the fun begins. So as you can see over there, I waited a little bit for those helicopters on the other side to get here. The range of Mithra's level 2 is ridiculously large. You can see that we were able to hit all of them, and we got some weapon points as a bonus, so that's going to be nice. And hopefully this should finish it off too. If not, that's fine. It's only a matter of time before we actually can just use regular attacks to whittle him down to the rest of his HP, so it's really, really good. Okay, so he does have a little bit left, but honestly, the only thing that's left right now is just to, deal with the remainder, which is these two guys. It's important that once this happens, and if Ardanian Kurodil still has a lot of health, you should position yourself closer to them and switch over to Fiora and then go on healer duty. The reason why you want to do this is because, remember, team heal is going to be very, very important for times like this. So let's have T-elos do the special before I fire off a level 3. That's going to heal the entire party. And then we're going to go straight for this one. It's imperative that you guys clear these guys out as soon as possible because these guys steal away each of your party gauge, and you want to have as much party gauge as you can in order to survive. And that pretty much does it. So yeah, that's the fight with Ardanian Kurodil. There are no more waves to worry about, so all that's left for you now is just to spam away with crit recharges, and then that is going to be a dead Ice Cream Man. It's a very intimidating fight, and the reason why I didn't want to go too in-depth with the attacks is, like I said, they are specifically designed to be unfair. You're not meant to experience all of them, you're not meant to tank all of them. It's just something that you shouldn't ever have to deal with. So yeah, it took us 4 minutes and 33 seconds. It would have been faster had I used different blades, or like much more powerful blades than this, although there's not really much else I can say because the blades that we have are already pretty good. I think my my original best time was like 3 minutes and 40 seconds, so it's not that far off. But yeah, it's a very intimidating fight. It's meant to be unfair, but the beauty of Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is that you can use cheap tactics to overcome cheap tactics. So I hope that you guys watching this video will find this challenge a little bit easier, and it'll help you kind of look forward to other cool challenges that this game has in mind. So guys, thanks very, very much for watching this guide video for the 9th Imperial Division, and I will see you guys at the next guide, and we look at another challenge in the challenge mode DLC. Take care, everyone.